So our complementary course regarding the Shamatha meditation is slowly coming to an end. So we have to shorten somehow the content of our exposition. I will have chance to come back to the same theme again if I'm still here next year, and elaborate more and find connections with the tantric practice that we are going to be introduced in. In my meditation course, we will use the meditation on the breath. In the northern tradition, which also has a very great indeed affinity with what you're going to learn in the tantric meditation. So we have come to the fourth stage of Shamatha. And we have called this stage actually the best translation would be seeing the translation in your book. You have the placement, so close placement. In your book you have a very wrong translation, unfortunately. It explained the fourth stage as a perfect placement. It's still very far from the perfect placement. The perfect placement actually is the ninth stage, the last stage. The correct translation of this fourth stage, which is called in Sanskrit upastapayati. The upa means near, stapayati means establish. And we have used a very useful Xuanzang's translation of dwelling inside. So what is the fourth stage? It is close placement on the meditation object, which enables the mind to dwell inside. This upa means actually near or close. Now, we have already explained that, and it is very significant to understand, that in the Abhidharma tradition, the practice of Shamatha actually is explained as a mastery of 10 kinds of attainments. The 4 attainments in the subtle forms and the 4 attainments in the formless. So it means a perfect placement would be actually when you go into the dhyana. The Abhidharma commentaries also explain the 10 kinds of samadhi. The 8 attainments that we have mentioned. Then approximate samadhi. What is approximate samadhi? As explained in the Abhidharma tradition. It is called upachara samadhi. Chin shin ting. It is the samadhi still in the sphere dominated by the sensual perception. Actually, it is already not concerned much with the senses, but it does not transcend the senses. It is very important to understand. So, the Abhidharma commentary speaks then of 10 kinds of samadhi. The one has to learn who wants to master the science of samadhi. And here we have to emphasize the science of worldly samadhi. What means a worldly samadhi? We study worldly samadhi in order to understand the supermundane samadhi. Understanding of the supermundane samadhi is the base, the very base of the Bodhisattva practice. The transcendental wisdom is based on the practice of the transcendental samadhi or the supermundane samadhi. And what is the worldly samadhi? The worldly samadhi is that samadhi where you have an object you can hang, literally hang the mind on. Whatever you can hang the mind on, it is a worldly object. That is why the Sanskrit language is a kind of a wonder, the most perfect creation of this human mind. In Sanskrit, the object is called alambana, which means literally something we can hang the mind on. From the Sanskrit root lamp, it means to hang. So like you hang the clothes on the hanger, so when you in the worldly sphere of perception, you hang your mind on some object. Now, if you are in a supermundane samadhi, there is no object to hang the mind on. There is no such a hanger. So that object is nothing else than a nirvana. And nirvana has 3 doors. The door of emptiness, the door of signlessness, and the door of desirelessness. You are practicing in order to master these 3 methods. And you will never be able to master it unless you have a very deep realization in the past. Unless you train your mind on an object that you can hang on, that you can hang your mind on. Until you can master a perfect placement on that object. That perfect placement on the object is not the 4th stage of shamatha, but the 9th stage of shamatha. This is very important to understand. Now this 9th stage of shamatha in the northern tradition is not yet a dhyana. It does not mean, it does not, so to say, shut away the sensual perceptions. And there is a very big misunderstanding about the whole science of samadhi, whole science of shamatha. Being in a dhyana actually does not mean that you cannot hear any sound, you cannot feel the body. It means that your mind is continuously placed on the same object and is not distracted by any other object. When you have mastered this dhyana, then you can eventually, if you go to the cave, to the forest, you can master even eventually, slowly, the complete cutting of the senses. But it is not necessary for the attainment of the dhyana as such. And if you have attained the dhyana, then of course you can use dhyana to practice vipassana, which is of great advantage. This advantage actually is a very crucial advantage. That is why normally in the Buddhist scriptures, teaching the disciples in the Shravakayana, the Buddha practically without exception first teaches morality, then teaches moral conduct, then teaches the dhyanas, and then teaches vipassana. You will find hardly any exception to this rule. Only in the Samyutta Nikaya there is a small sutra which you may interpret as so-called dry vipassana, without dhyana. This sutra is called Susima Sutra, and it has many interpretations, but we don't talk now about the Shravaka tradition. We want to understand the Bodhisattva tradition. So, when you have attained the 9th stage of shamatha, you are not in dhyana. It is very important to understand. But you are, so to say, at the perfect placement on an object still connected with the sensual perception. So that is why it is a perfect placement. This perfect placement is called the spontaneous attention. What means spontaneous attention? Spontaneous attention means that all the mental factors which are the content of the mind, they are in perfect balance. So the mind has no ups and downs. So it goes straight without vibrations. Then such a mind you can apply to any object, differentiated object, non-differentiated object, If you are in a dhyana, then of course your mind stays with the same object. So you are not concerned with differentiating. Differentiating belongs to a different mind. So we have explained before that according to the northern tradition, the object of shamatha is called the non-differentiated object. The object of vipassana is called the differentiated object. We will talk about it more maybe in the coming year. It is very important to understand. Now, mastering samadhi implies then beside the 8 samapattis, it also implies the proximate samadhi, jinshinting, and it implies also so-called kshanika samadhi, kshana thing, momentary samadhi. The momentary samadhi is the samadhi you need for vipassana in the tradition of the disciples. And of course, in a way, it is a base also for understanding of the northern tradition as well. That means you need the samadhi for close investigation of impermanence. If you don't have the kshanika samadhi, you cannot understand the momentary impermanence. And the momentary impermanence, or the momentary state of all formations, is the ultimate truth of suffering. I think you have learned also in this course things like having a pain or being deprived of company you like, and being in the company of those you don't like, and so on. This is only conventional suffering. The true suffering is the momentary impermanence of all formations. In the tradition of the Shravakas, unless you understand this, you have no access to the supermundane mind. So, no way of entering to the stream of nirvana. Now we are studying the northern tradition of meditation. We are studying the path of the Bodhisattva. So, what is the path of the Bodhisattva? The Bodhisattva understands the state of the Arahat, he understands the supermundane samadhi, but he does not go into nirvana because he has a bodhicitta, he has vows. 众生无边誓愿度，烦恼无尽誓愿断，法门无量誓愿学，佛道无上誓愿成. That is what he is repeating all the time. I not only liberate myself, I liberate all beings. I not only get free from my defilements, I get free from defilements of all beings. I not only learn what I need to attain nirvana, I learn all that is useful for the beings. And I attain the state of Buddhahood. This is what the Bodhisattva is always contemplating and repeating. Every Bodhisattva has a vows. There is no Bodhisattva without the vows. And because he has a vows, he does not go into nirvana. And in order to do that, he has to master shamatha. If he does not master shamatha, he will always be troubled by defilements. And he has, so to say, no way out. Why? Because he is placing his mind on the object in an imperfect way. So, in order to avoid this imperfect way, the first thing to learn is the power of mindfulness. If we don't have the power of mindfulness, we are in middle of defilements, but we even don't notice it. And this is what unfortunately happens to most of us. We can still have a very happy life with all these defilements. But when the trouble comes, and the trouble is bound to come, we have no way to counter the defilements. Because just like we blindly follow our thoughts in the dream, so we follow blindly our thoughts in the daily life. That's why the first opening to wisdom is understanding what we normally experience with the mind without shamatha is just a dream. Buddha has taught just that. Our experience in daily life is not different in its quality from the experience in the dream. We are mostly just blindly following our tendencies. And our tendencies are connected to our defilements. So we are in a vicious circle. And this Buddha has described this vicious circle as the 12 links of dependent origination. So you can only understand this vicious circle of the 12 links of dependent origination by understanding not the anuloma but pratiloma, not going from the beginning to the end, but going from the end to the beginning. And how to go from the end to the beginning, we can only understand when we can place the mind in a correct way. When we can let it dwell inside with all the mental formations which form the mind in a perfect balance. So, for that we need the science of Shamatha. And the real science of Shamatha starts, we have said, when we relate to the object by force of mindfulness and not by force of our will. When we relate to the object with mindfulness, we will experience it in a different way. In what way? The attention does not wobble. When attention does not wobble, the perception does not wobble. When the perception does not wobble, the sensations do not wobble. When the sensations do not wobble, the mind becomes firm. Wobble means shake. So, what the power of mindfulness does to us is that the mind does not shake. When the mind does not shake, we activate the power of awareness. When the mind is shaking, we cannot activate the power of awareness. Because we will be always seduced by our judgments. Very important to understand. So what happens in this fourth stage of Shamatha, which is wrongly translated as perfect placement in your book, but it actually means the near placement or close placement, means that whatever sensations you may experience, and you will experience many sensations in meditation, whatever thoughts may crop in the mind, whatever sounds you may hear, whatever colors you may see, they will not take your attention away from the meditation object. That means you have a close placement. Close placement where? Inside your mind. When you have close placement inside your mind due to the meditation object, then the perceptions become very firm. Sensations become very firm. And these perception and sensations, they are called the mind formations. Now it means when the perception becomes very firm and you are sitting, what is likely to happen? When the concentration improves and it is not balanced by wisdom, what will happen? The mind has tendency to think. Now this wisdom is a synonym of awareness, of vigilance. So in this fourth stage, even so you don't lose your meditation object may not be very clear because your mind has not overcome this gross tendency to thinking. The awareness is not enough. Power of awareness is not enough. So you have to add to the power of awareness, to power of vigilance, to overcome this tendency of mind thinking. Why does the mind think? Because the object is not clear, object is not investigating. When we stay with a concentrated mind for a longer time, we start feeling very comfortable. When we start feeling very comfortable, very easy to become negligent. And when one becomes negligent, then the mind will, process of thinking of the mind becomes more and more. Now, as long as you guard your mindfulness, you don't lose the meditation object, but the meditation object is not clear. In my experience of teaching meditation, I have seen meditators meditating for 20 years, but they don't go beyond this stage. They feel very comfortable, sit for an hour or so, and they don't make any further progress. It is neither shamatha, it is nor vipassana, but they feel very comfortable. So one gets stuck. Now, how to avoid this situation? To investigate the object. And in order to investigate the object, you need, of course, the virya, you need effort. And in order to exercise effort, you need will. And when the mind stays a long time with the same object and starts enjoying it, the will becomes very weak and the mind has tendency to think. So, when one understands this very clearly, then one goes to the fifth stage, which is called Dhammayati. Dhammayati means to subdue, tiaofu. In this stage of subduing, then one gets rid of this tendency of thinking by activating the power of awareness. Then only subtle tendencies to thinking and subtle tendencies to excitement can arise. One will be free from all gross tendencies. So the mind can go higher to the stage of appeasement. This is a sixth stage. In this sixth stage, the stage of appeasement, shamayati, teaching, in this teaching stage, in this stage of peace, no more gross tendencies to thinking, no more gross tendencies to excitement. So the mind has a great deal of vigilance. So one can sit for a long time. One will feel more from this clarity and relaxation, which we have called prashrabdi ching an. and one will feel very refreshed by meditation. It is very easy to develop great attachment to meditation at this stage. But one has to investigate. For more subtle mind, one needs a more subtle investigation. For a gross mind, we can only use a gross investigation. For a subtle mind, we can use a subtle investigation. And this is what we need in the sixth stage to go higher. Even though we are filled with happiness and joy, these tendencies of thinking and excitement is still there. Even so they are now subtle, they are there. If we don't increase the power of our awareness, we won't go into higher stages. So we have to develop ability of using the antidotes in a more perfect way. We can check these we should try to check these tendencies to thinking and to excitement as soon as they arise. Then we can go to higher stages. And how we will learn in the coming lesson. So that much for today. We have 15 minutes for meditation. Now try to apply your theory to your meditation. May the merits we have gained spread to all beings so that myself and them together attain the Buddhahood. Thank you.